I have no idea why. As a warm up. I don't know why. My bad.
Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. Fine Monday morning. I almost said morning. Monday evening. Don't know why I went with that. I get my days confused. We're thrilled you all could be joining us for a very special episode. My name is Doug Wagner. I'm one of the co-hosts of Films in Black and White. We are going to be down a co-host, but I think you all will take this trade-off. I gotta be honest.
Oh yeah,
you're absolutely gonna take this trade-off because you lose Brian, which sad day, you lose Brian. But on the bonus side, you get two people from Toronto who are gonna absolutely crush this shit. So I am not like worried about it, but at all. In order to do this, though, we got to introduce the other co-host who's going to help me hold this down. Marcus J. Destin. Marcus?
What's up? What's up? Listen, it's been a long weekend. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. But, we got some special guests in the building. And, I'm kind of ready for them to come on in and let's set the vibe early. Like, Brian, we miss you. You're not dead. I was going to say rest in peace. But, like, rest in peace because you're resting in peace, but not because you're dead. But I love you, Brian.
All right. Well, let's get after it. So, y'all know that we have a habit of connecting with people via social media, whether that's dropping into people's DMs and just setting stuff up for this podcast that is unique. We did it with Adam Egypt Mortimer, and guess what? We're back on our bullshit, and we did it again. So we had an exchange with a podcast called I Hate Your Taste in Movies about the movie we are going to be discussing today. Reached out to them, and we basically connected and are doing kind of a little bit of a crossover episode. I guess that's what you can call it. But just so you all know who we are bringing on, I Hate Your Taste in Movies is, I should have had this ready. I Hate Your Taste in Movies is a weekly movie podcast where three friends with very different tastes force each other to watch their favorite movies, give their unfiltered opinions, and put their friendship to the test.
Fire.
So we, this week, have two of the co-hosts for that group joining us, and I'm going to bring Jen in first. Just a little bit about Jen. Jen is a person who spends far too much time on the internet because it's her job. She loves horror movies and gets a lot of joy forcing the others to watch particularly gruesome kills. She also loves cats, Harry Potter, baking shows, and reading. She contains multitudes. Jen, welcome to Films in Black and White.
Yeah.
We are so happy you are joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
Yeah. Jen, how are things in Toronto?
We're still in lockdown, so not great.
Gross. Okay.
The weather's getting slightly warmer, although it did snow this week because everything's horrible.
I'm sorry,
snow?
what?
You said snow?
Yeah, there was snow the other day.
Okay.
I'll be
because why not? What else?
I'll be praying for you. Yeah, we in South Dakota know all about snow, but not in like almost June. I mean, we got a May snowstorm, but June's pushing it.
I feel like Canadians, we normally love to brag like we're so much better than the States, but right now I got nothing on you guys. Like, we're terrible. I can't go outside. It snowed in June. Like, take it away. I'm going to South Dakota.
Yeah, well, I mean, hold on. Just be careful before you jump on that ship.
Jen, I don't know if you want to say that. I mean, we're not a political podcast, but I mean, we can
just pump the brakes. So we, though, need to invite your other co-host into this show. Austin currently works in education outreach for a music company and has a passion for escape rooms, dogs, and, well, more dogs. She's a musical theater nerd and will subject anyone in her path to ramblings about Stephen Sondheim, Bernadette Peters, or the superiority of the original Broadway shows to their movie adaptation counterparts. Everybody, welcome Austin to Films in Black and White. Austin, how you feeling?
Hi, thank you for having me. This is exciting. I'm feeling good.
Good. You and I probably would get along when it comes to the musical thing. As Marcus knows, I have a a smidgen of a personal vendetta for like musicals, as like in movies being the driver of things.
Okay.
When I see it on the stage, here for it, 100%. But
Yep.
there's just something about I can't connect with it as much when it's on a screen. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. It's the two such different mediums. I don't know. Something doesn't always connect. Sometimes there's amazing ones, but they're few and far between.
Like Dreamgirls. Dreamgirls is the best musical ever to hit the screens.
Or Chicago. Chicago's another really
Chicago's
near
very good.
perfect one. But
Yeah.
How do we feel about Rent? How do we feel about Rent?
I love Rent. One of my not the movie. We talked about it on our podcast a few months ago. But I mean, I can't hate it too much because that show's pretty important to me.
That's true.
I like it.
Rent is like a theater, like will move most people to tears. But there's something about the movie made it hard for me to connect with it, not to throw it out.
No,
But
for sure.
we could have a whole other podcast just about musicals and things like that. But we have a whole show to get to, and we have a great movie. Well, hold on, maybe not great. We have a movie to get to. So
Spoiler.
Starting early, huh?
I'm not trying to start early. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. I'm trying to build the suspense here.
Okay.
But Jen and Austin, we have a game called Catch That Quotable, and Marcus and I thought it would be fun if it would be team oriented this week.
Ooh.
And so this is a game where we basically, the point of it is to prove what we don't know about movies and movie quotes. It's not a show of what we know. It's actually more of an inadequacy thing more than anything. But we asked the two of you as a podcast, as an I Hate Your Taste in Movies podcast, to come with a quote. And we are going to let you all go first since you are our guests and have you read your quote to see if we can figure out where it is from. So, ladies, take it away.
All right, Austin, do you want to read?
Why don't you do the one that you brought to the table?
Okay. I will do this dramatic reading, and I'll try to not do the same intonation as the actor in the scene, so that maybe it's a little harder for you guys.
I mean, you can if you want to come. We're really bad at this game. I think he kind of underplayed it, but
we're not. This isn't like a humble brag. We're awful at this.
No.
Okay, that's reassuring because I will be as well.
Yeah, we'll have no idea what you guys give us, but this is the one we got. So, after we watch The Bucket List, remember to watch the bucket list off our bucket list.
Okay. So after we watch the bucket list, remember to watch the bucket list off
the bucket list.
Okay. This feels like a comedy, just right off the jump.
Has to be a comedy. Has to be a comedy. You know, the first movie that comes to my mind is Ted.
That? Is Ted?
Ted. For some reason, Ted the Bear comes to my mind first.
That is a note to self style type moment.
Definitely a Seth MacFarlane style comedy.
Okay. Okay. The other
bucket list means somebody's dying, though, right?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't make heads or tails of this. The only movie that comes to mind is the comedy with Norm Macdonald called Dirty Work, and that's because he does a lot of note to self type moments in that. But that was from 1995, so there's no way that this is what that was.
Saw the future.
That is, unless he knows something we don't, which. Nope, that's just not a thing.
That's a good point. Is there a hint? Can we get a hint?
I can give you a hint.
Okay.
Great.
So the star of the movie that we're watching later is in this film as well.
Oh.
If it's Emma Stone, the number one Emma Stone movie that comes to mind is either La La Land or the one where what's the one she got an A? The Scarlet Letter.
Easy
but
A?
it's not the Scarlet. What? No.
The
What?
Scarlet Letter was
Easy
the
A.
book.
I thought you said UCLA, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Yes, it's a movie about the UCL Bruins.
Sorry.
Yep.
So that's what I'm okay.
Or that weird movie where she played an Asian woman. Which
did not see that one, so
I don't even remember what that was called. But
it was Aloha.
Okay, Doug. Here's what I think. I think we go Scarlet Letter.
Oh, do you mean Easy A? Because you're going to get it wrong.
Sorry, my bad.
Easily confusable.
Easy A. Unless you have a better guess.
Marcus, I have nothing. So you go right ahead.
Marcus J. Destin would like to plug his answer in, and I'd love to go with Easy A.
You are correct.
Oh,
Yes.
oh man,
Well,
that,
you know,
that is.
I'd like to thank my
impressive for
mom.
us. I thank my mom. It's good, Mimi. We appreciate you. Well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Thank you for the quote. I
was
forget
good.
about that movie all the time. I've rewatched it a handful of times, just when it's been on TV or if there's just nothing else popping or what else. I'm trying to catch up on housework or what have you. But that's a good one. Good guess. Way to incorporate what we're watching later in your quote. So, all right. Are you all ready for our quote?
Here we go.
Sure.
As
Okay.
ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on,
I
Doug.
will also try to not do a dramatic reading. So just hang in with us there. Okay. Try any sleight of hand with my money and I'll cut your throat. Ooh,
Oh,
that's aggressive.
jeez.
I just right off the jump.
Come on,
that was
man.
aggressive.
What's going on?
Try any sleight of hand like with our guests. Like, hey, thanks for joining us. Hey, this one's gonna get rough. Try any sleight of hand with my money and I'll cut your throat.
Heavy.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe like some sort of crime movie. If there's
Right.
money and throat cutting, some sort of like casino heist type situation, some gangsters maybe.
Yeah. I like where your
Okay.
brain's going because the first one I thought of was like, oh, sleight of hand, magic. Is it now you'll see
Ooh.
me?
I love Now You See Me.
I do too. That is an
I love it.
underrated movie. I will defend that one.
Oh, 1 and 2.
I
haven't
not
seen
either.
2.
Oh, 2's pretty good too.
Okay.
Mm.
Do you have any specific guesses there, Jen?
No, but now I'm thinking about Now You See Me.
Could we get a hint?
Yes, you absolutely can get a hint.
Mhm.
Your hint is Tom Cruise.
Oh, this is a Jen question then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do love Tom Cruise,
Ooh.
but I can't place this quote.
Fun fact, Doug hates Tom Cruise.
I do not hate Tom Cruise. I make fun of Tom Cruise for being a Scientologist.
Yeah,
I do
fair.
not hate Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
There's a very fine line. It's a very fine line of he's a fantastic actor. He goes, man
Look at
does
him
his own
defending
stuff.
himself.
He's
Look at
nuts.
him. Look
But
at him defending himself.
he's also a little nutso. So
That's honestly probably where I am. I call myself a Tom Cruise apologist because his movies are great. He's a great performer. The cult thing, not great.
yeah,
No.
we need to dial that back hard. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I'm gonna think of, I don't know if this is right, but you know where he's like the producer in Tropic Thunder? I feel like he's
Oh.
threatening people a lot in
Oh,
that
sure.
one.
That's
Okay.
a good guess.
That is a
That's a
fantastic
good
guess.
yes, great movie.
That is incorrect, but that is a
Yeah.
great guess.
Great
This
guess.
is the 1996 movie Mission Impossible,
Oh,
which with Tom Cruise and John Voight and a lot of other folks.
I mean, after the second Mission Impossible, who's really keeping up? It's like Fast and Furious.
Oh,
it definitely is.
Jen's keeping
Yeah.
up.
Mission Impossible 4, Ghost Protocol, best one. So just that's all you need to know.
I will
Ghost
agree.
Prot.
I feel like that one had a storyline that like it was like a good, compelling storyline.
That's fair.
Yes.
I stopped watching after 2, so I have some catching up to do. But that's typically what happens with me. I did the same thing with Fast and Furious. I stopped watching after Tokyo Drift,
Oh,
and here we
yeah.
are. That's where we're at.
Same.
Y'all
I'm
better
like,
catch up.
do I want to go watch all 8 before Fast 9? Like, I don't
Mhm.
know.
And the Jurassic Park Fast and the Furious crossover that's going to be.
Okay, I
hard.
will be front row for that. Like, I will buy my ticket now.
Me too. I want to see Toronto. I want to see Toronto drive up the back of a T-Rex and off the top of his head in a Camaro. I just feel
Yeah.
like that's what's going to make my day.
I don't know, you guys. I just don't know. To answer your question, Jen, do you watch them? So, our listeners will know that I'm a dad. I have 2 kids. My wife took my 2 kids and herself to see her parents, and I stayed at home because I had some work stuff that I had to take care of. And what did I do with all of that freedom? I sat down on a Saturday night and watched Fast and Furious, then Too Fast, Too Furious, back to back. So
Wow.
just give yourself a little bit of time in between. That's
Dedicated.
more of a like cautionary tale of, just split it up just a
That's
little
fair.
bit.
Pace it out a
I'll
little.
spread them out.
That's the smart way to do it.
And then
Ladies
when
and
you're done,
gentlemen-
you get Hobbs and Shaw's a little treat.
Yeah,
That's
there
true.
you go.
Yes,
Treat
exactly.
yourself
Exactly.
with an oiled up rock.
That's exactly. We have a movie though to get to, and a more, I don't want to say certainly a different, a more recent movie than that. ladies and gentlemen, we watched the Disney movie Cruella for the podcast this week. Now, I think it is important to note, because this is an international thing we got going today, that Marcus and I saw this in a theater. So
no restrictions.
Way to brag.
Honestly, I'm not gonna brag. It's probably a bad thing. We probably rushed right into this. So
all things considered, yeah, it probably is. But so I went to a theater this past weekend. Marcus went to a theater this past weekend. Jen and Austin, how did you all consume this particular movie this week?
So it is on Disney Plus here in Canada.
Okay.
So it's available. We just legally cannot go sit in a movie theater and watch it.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, but again, very different. Like, you can start and stop, and so, rewind if you need to. That is actually kind of where the cards maybe are a little bit more in your hand, because there's some parts with this that I wish I had the ability to go back and check out for a second time. So
that's fair. Yeah.
Before we get into the movie and the highs and lows and what we would do different, Marcus, do you want to try and give us a barbershop summary for this movie?
I sure can.
Thank you.
So what had happened was, if you like Ocean's 13, The Joker, and The Devil Wears Prada, you're gonna love this movie, okay? Because this is exactly what this is. So you get the story of a young Cruella as they try to take us on this journey of forgiving her for killing puppies and using their fur as clothing. So we go and we get this sentimental backstory where we have Cruella, and she's growing up in this school that was very sexist, by the way, because they would just kept punishing her, but that little boy kept getting away with hitting her and throwing her in the trash cans. But so we get this story, and she thinks she's being raised by her mother. Spoiler alert! And this lady, and she goes into this big house and this big fancy dinner, and the Baroness is there, and the Baroness kills her mother, which she finds out later on down the road that these Dalmatians killed her mother, and that is just enough reason for her to go skin these Dalmatians later on down the road. So what happens is they go, and we get this entire story of not her being Cruella, but her being Estella, who is this lady with with red hair with a bad wig. But I thought she dyed her hair, but for some reason she's wearing a wig, and I don't know where that changed. So then we go, and she meets this crew, and she gets her dream job, but her dream job is really a poo job, and then she got to build her ranks up, and the Baroness takes her in. Turns out, oh my God, Cruella is the Baroness's daughter, and the other lady was just a nice lady taking her in. So then you get this story about fashion, and you get this story about like Dalmatians and dogs, and it was a lot of CGI dogs, like a lot of CGI dogging. Like, I don't know what was happening, but like there's this whole story behind it, and then it turns out the Baroness and she gets arrested because they set her up, and she does. Sometimes there's a skirt parachute. I don't know how the fuck that happened, but a skirt parachute happens, and then that's pretty much how the movie goes.
That's pretty close. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's pretty spot on. A rough overview without getting too into the weeds with it. And that's what's important, is you didn't get into the weeds, because that's what we're going to do here. Just to kind of give everybody the 20,000 foot perspective of who is in this particular movie. And I'll give you the rundown. Emma Stone plays Estella / Cruella. Emma Thompson plays the Baroness. Other notables that I am aware of, but my co-host and others should chime in if there's somebody famous that I'm missing. But Mark Strong plays John the valet. And I think as far as like A-list talent, that is pretty much it. Is there anybody that I missed that like is good in something that I just overlooked?
The only other one that I was really aware of was sorry, I'm just looking up his name, Paul Walker Hauser, who played Horace, because I just recognize him from I, Tonya.
Oh, sure. Oh, that's true. Who was the butler? Who was the did you name him already? The bald-headed Mark Strong. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I love that guy.
The budget for this particular movie it was between $100 and $200 million, and as of now, it has pulled in roughly $27 million at the box office. Because again, we're kind of in this weird space where we can actually report those kind of numbers. Not that really says anything about whether it's good or bad, but kind of interesting to note. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start off on a high note. What did you all like about this particular movie? And Austin and Jen, why don't you all jump in first?
Sure. Okay, this will not be a surprise to Jen anyway, but I really liked the music in the movie. I thought it was a fantastic soundtrack and did a really good job at placing you in London in the 70s, kind of the dawning of it, like the punk scene that she's getting herself in, and like some bangers of songs. It's a good soundtrack, and I thought it did its job.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
Some of the songs on there were an absolute home run. So, absolutely.
I went and listened to that soundtrack after the movie was over because they just had they had a good mix of newer songs. They kind of kept it within that time period, and they did well of not really introducing anything super new. But like Florence and the Machines is on there. Then you have Ike and Turner, and then it's a wide variety of music, and that's what I like the most. So I absolutely agree. The music was fire.
Yeah, for sure, completely agree. Jen, anything that you jumped out that you were really like excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I liked a lot of the costumes, I think, because the movie is very in fashion. There's a lot of really creative outfits, and especially there's a part where Cruella is kind of pulling all these different stunts and having all these dramatic outfit reveals. I kind of got into the drama of that. I really enjoyed seeing what she was wearing and things like that.
For sure, completely agree. Marcus, anything that you found like that, just kind of to get us kicking off on what you liked?
Yeah, okay, so it'll be two. So one was the casting. I really liked the casting and the surrounding cast. It didn't really feel like it was just an Emma Stone movie. You really did get like a full story from Horace and I forget the other guy's name, but like Jasper. Thank you, Horace and Jasper. You really got a full story with them and how they felt. You got to see how they felt with Cruella and Estella and this transition into these characters. I like the diversity, and that was the second thing that I liked. For sure. What I didn't notice that I had to go look up afterwards was Anita and God, what is his name? Roger. Thank you, Anita and Roger. They completely changed the ethnicities of these characters, and that's why I wasn't familiar. She kept saying Anita, darling, and I was like, that sounds so familiar. And she said Roger, but it just completely spaced. And then at the end of the movie, at like the mid-credit scene, I was like, oh, okay, got it. Okay, I get it now. So I like the diversity and the casting. I really felt like that was done well. Everybody had good chemistry.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I took note of that right away. And I will say this too, and I would say the two performances that I want to like just talk about are the things that I liked predominantly were, one, Emma Stone delivered a pretty good performance. And I really did think that she really, as much as you can, dive into a cartoon character, right? Because that's where we kind of get Cruella from. She really dove into this character and was able to say things like Anita, darling, like really, really, really well. And it definitely triggered that muscle memory in my head of like, oh yeah, I know exactly who she's talking about. And it triggered that for me. The other thing that I really liked about performance wise is I'm going to have to look just 1 second. Her name, Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
God damn.
Did great.
Like she crushed it. Like she just did such a great job. And I feel like this was really like an Emma Thompson acting clinic. Like, cause she really like went there and she really just committed to that role, and she just played it so well that I was just really, really impressed with her just acting chops in this top to bottom, for sure. So those are the two things I think for me that was, in addition to kind of Marcus, what you said, the casting. I do think some of the visuals were kind of cool too, like the way they did the newspaper headlines coming through. I thought was really unique.
Yeah, that was really good
too. But other things that people just kind of, anybody jump in, no real formality to it. Anything else people really liked, or things that you took note of or observed that were kind of your jam?
You guys kind of touched on all the ones that the other kind of high points, like the costumes. I really liked the wardrobe. And again, for me, it was just like setting the stage and setting the scene, and, from the locations and like just everything. It was very, what's the word I'm looking for? But it really like put you there, I guess. It was fun to watch. Like, it was just a visually appealing movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the building up of Cruella, like starting off as a kid and giving us this entire storyline. Because so what I did was I kind of went down a rabbit hole. After I watched Cruella, I went back and watched the cartoon 101 Dalmatians and then the live action 101 Dalmatians. Oh, wow. And just because I needed like a refresher on the two movies, this is a different thing. The live action is very weird because as soon as Roger and Anita meet each other, they get married. I don't know why they do that. They was like, yeah, we should like totally get married. And I was like, wait, excuse me, what? But they did well developing Cruella, because outside of that, we don't have any other kind of familiarity with Cruella. She's just this mean lady who skins dogs, and that's it. This one gave us a lot of backstory, a lot of background. I understand why they're trying to give us a lot of backstory and a lot of background, but I'll save that for the bad. But I just think that they did really well with that, and then like the people around her that they, you know, just surrounded themselves with. I don't know. I like the way they told the story. I like the plot. I like the tempo of the movie at times.
Yeah, for sure. And Marcus, I mean, just to kind of build off your point even more with the diversity element to it, you know, Disney did a really good job of like, it doesn't matter and they don't need to hold anything as sacred as there's that story that they told the first time as like, well, we have to tell it the same way. I mean, they definitely said like, no, we can take some creative to it. And this character doesn't have to be, you know, a white lady. Like we can do this as an African-American woman. So I think it's just really kind of cool that the way that they played that and they made those choices. So, just the diversity of it, top to bottom, I thought was really great. So cool. Well, I mean, really, that's a pretty short list of good. So let's kind of run into the things maybe that we didn't care for so much, or maybe things that stick out to us as like, oof. And I'm going to go first. And I don't want to offend my guest, Austin, and I do not want to upset her, but I'm going to say this. I had to get out a timer while I was in the middle of a theater and actually clock how much time there was between songs where there wasn't some sort of music in the background. And I think we're talking max 2 minutes. Like, so I think the majority of this movie has music behind dialogue. And for me, I don't know why. It's just, I couldn't get away from it. Like they would start talking and it would be quiet, and then the music, I'd be like, that fucking music is back again. Like just to myself quietly in the theater, like that music is back again. Like it's not bad, but it's just one of those like nitpicky things that just stuck with me of like, why? Like, what? Can't we just listen to what they have to say? Do I need, the Strokes in the background? Probably not. I mean, I like the Strokes, so it doesn't matter, but I don't think I necessarily need them in the background, do I?
But you sound like a boomer.
I mean, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I am an old soul.
No, that's fair. I feel like there was some pacing issues overall for me. And when you said took out the timer, I was like, oh yeah, because this movie was like 2.25 hours. Was that why you had the timer?
Yes.
Absolutely.
It felt like it too. It felt like it.
Yeah, there's no way that in any Disney movie really needs to be 2.5 hours. And that, like, I started thinking too, like, this movie clearly isn't for like little kids because they can't sit through it this long. And all the references are, like we said, like 70s, like punk and fashion. So it's definitely more of an adult themed movie, I guess. But is this for adults? Is this for us to watch? Because then it's so like campy and cartoony in other regards that it's like, I don't know what you're trying to go for here. Like, why am I here for 2.5 hours? Like, let's just pick a lane and do one or the other.
I mean, at one point in time, the main character her apartment gets set on fire. And the villain is like, I'm going to kill you. Like, I'm sorry, what?
No, she didn't say I'm going to kill you. She said, oh, I'm just going to add your charred body to the evidence. And I was like, oh my God, like there are children in here. Like, what are they doing?
That's a very good point, Jen, of like, who is this for? Because this was aggressive.
Yeah, it definitely felt like 2 and some change. Because like it was a certain point I looked at my watch and was like, wait a minute, we're still here and there's still story to tell. Like, wait a minute, they're about to apologize to each other and like hit the come back together moment amongst the group. Like, there's still more to go. And it just, I think that kind of took away my attention span for a little bit. And then it kind of spooked, like came back up when they got to the heist part of it all. Like, just because I wanted to see how they were going to resolve it.
Yeah.
That's like, because we were watching it at home, not in a theater. I was able to pause it after they kind of did their first heist, trying to get the necklace.
Yep.
And I just paused and looked at the time, and I was like, oh no, I'm not even halfway. There's so much movie left.
Oh no.
I definitely did it in 2 shots. I don't know, it's just my attention span has gotten shorter and shorter over quarantine or what, but I had to do this movie in 2 goes, so I apologize.
No, that's fine.
No. And that's the thing about the theater and being at home is like, I had to sit there. I mean, I paid money and bought popcorn and Twizzlers and water, and like, I got to sit there and go through that. No, I didn't get the Nerds rope this time.
Oh, well, it changed. Usually that's like your go-to movie snack.
They just didn't have it. I was sad.
I'm sorry.
No,
Are you
it's
gonna make
okay.
it?
No.
Oh, we'll pour one out for Nerds Rope. That's exactly where I was sitting, just like all of you, sitting there, kind of like, how are we still doing this? Like, we have more to kind of go over. So yeah, I completely agree. This timing and pacing was just kind of topsy turvy, overall. Other things that sort of you jumped out at you and kind of maybe felt off, or just maybe you didn't quite like.
I mean, I have a list, but I can let someone else go.
No.
Give us the list.
Off. This is what we are here for.
I feel like you guys are inspiring me to be more angry at it, because I was like, this is a very inoffensive film. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I want to hate it. Give me some.
I didn't hate it. Like, I think I'm kind of in the same place where I'm like, it was fine. It was fun. It was enjoyable. But like, so much of it, I'm like, why did they do that? Like, for example, Dalmatians aren't typically attack dogs or guard dogs. That's not something that someone would have to guard their palace.
Good point.
So they had the Baroness have Dalmatians as her attack dogs for no reason other than to have Dalmatians kill Cruella's mother. But then throughout the rest of the movie, Cruella has dogs and likes dogs. So I'm like, is it just Dalmatians? But then at the end, she like adopts the Baroness's Dalmatians, gives their puppies away to Roger and Anita, and is like, I'll come back in 5 years and skin their puppies.
Yeah.
Like, if she wants a Dalmatian coat, she could just run a puppy farm out of her like castle with the Dalmatians she has. No sense.
No.
They should not have had Dalmatians in this movie.
No.
I am so glad you brought
Thank
that
you, Jen.
up,
Thank you,
because
Jen.
I walked out of that theater and I went, so she wants to skin them because they killed her mom, but then she went and adopted. I was like, what the fuck? Like, from the walk from the theater to my car, I was like, I don't get it. Like, what? So why does she do that later? Like, she can.
What's interesting is the dialogue that they try to use to kind of. So this entire movie, to me, which is part of my big bad of this whole thing, is it's Disney trying to help us forget that they created this character who skinned animals and did this whole thing.
Exactly. She's not a. I don't need an origin story for this woman.
I don't need an origin story for evil. I understand you want to do these anti-heroes. You want to make her like a Harley Quinn or like whatever. Like, that's cool. But this entire movie, she was friends with dogs. And then so what they did was, at the end of it, she walked into the store with Art, and he was like, wait, did you really skin those dogs? And she was like, no, but I'll be the villain if someone has to be. And I was like, no. That's BS. Don't do that. Don't bullshit.
You're the villain because of the choices you make later.
Make it. You make that. Don't do that. That's messed up.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And the dog presence in it was heavy.
It was heavy. It was
heavy. Like, top to bottom. She was best friends with the dog.
Honestly, if they wanted me to believe that Cruella was going to kill dogs one day, they should have had her just hate all dogs because dogs killed her mother.
Yes.
Not be like, I'm upset about dogs killing my mother, but I'm going to adopt 50 dogs. And then just maybe one day, like, clearly this is setting her up, but then something else has to make her snap to be a puppy killer. Because at the end of this movie, it wouldn't make sense for her to go kill puppies.
Are they just trying to like smooth over the fact that she's a puppy killer? Like, are we just, because it's been a long time since I've seen the other movies. Like, but I did remember that much. Like, are we just...
Yeah, it's kind of the main point.
Yeah, they're trying to just make us forget that she just skins puppies.
Yeah. And the other thing about the movie is she skinned other animals. She skinned the last white tiger of the fur. She did all of this, like...
That's right.
She kidnapped 101 Dalmatians. And how many times in that movie do the kidnapper say, yeah, we got to kill these puppies? Like, and he takes a bat or like a fire iron and swings it. And I'm like, wait a minute, this movie is aggressive as hell. And this is not for children.
And here's the other thing I want to know. What's the origin? What moment makes Horace and Jasper go off the deep end to be able to want to do that to puppies? Because if you like, I get like Horace for a second is like, these dogs are running amok. Like, I get the like tiny grudge he might have with them, but overall, really, like, these are two nice dudes, and these are the people who are like, they kidnap 101 Dalmatians and think about killing them with a fire iron later. There's something about this is like, what is going on?
And again, like, these people all have dogs as pets. Like, if you're someone who just hates all dogs, I mean, you're a monster. So like then I could believe that you would maybe kill a dog, but like you could never have a pet dog and be like, I love my dog, but I'll go kill and skin that one. Like, no, people just don't do that.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. What else you got on your list, Miss G? I like that. I like this. What else you got on your list?
Perfect. That's just what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
This one is like really petty, but it bothered me throughout the movie.
I live in petty, Jen. Please.
Okay.
No, he really does live there. So, yeah.
All right. So Cruella and Anita are like childhood friends.
Yes.
Right? And then I haven't seen 101 Dalmatians in a while, but you watched it recently, so maybe you can kick in there. I feel like there was never any acknowledgement that she knew Roger beforehand. So yet Roger is Cruella's co-worker in this one. And then she gives them both the puppies so that they eventually meet. Like she is an active part of this. Whereas before I'm like, why is Roger's also not a lawyer.
He's not a lawyer.
They just threw that in so that he could be there, but really they just didn't need him in it.
He
didn't.
No, he didn't need to be in this entire movie.
No.
So in the 101 Dalmatians, Rogers makes video games, and he's a video game creator, and Anita works as an actual designer for Cruella. So that's how the original story goes. This one, Anita's a reporter, and Roger apparently plays the piano in a bar. And
they tried to like pay homage to the fact that he's good at the piano. Like they tried to like mention that, but being like he's a shitty lawyer, he plays the piano in like this really dive bar, and then they just left it and they walked away, and they were like, "Hope you paid attention. There's your little Easter egg," but that's all they had, and it was just such a half-hearted attempt at an Easter egg.
Terrible.
Yeah, that's not petty at all. That's very valid. Of like, he doesn't need to be in this in any way, shape, or form.
Can I say something really embarrassing? You guys were talking about Roger, and I had to just go to IMDb and figure out who the heck Roger was because I just could not remember that character at all.
He was forgettable though.
In this movie?
Yes,
she fired him in the car. He then got out the car, and then we forgot about him for the rest of the movie. Whereas Anita was popping in and out of scenes as a reporter, so she was a little bit more memorable.
And Anita, like I said, it made sense because in like the original, because I haven't seen like the live action one with Glenn Close, but I remember watching like the cartoon one when I was a kid, and I remember it was always Cruella was like Anita's old friend, and Roger didn't like her. So I'm like, it makes sense that Anita's here. They know each other. They gave Anita stuff to do. They brought her into the action. I loved all of that. But yeah, I was like, who invited him? Why is he here just to get fired?
Yeah,
and Roger's so random. He just like, no knock to the actor, but he just looks like a regular, like a background character. Like he just looks like an extra instead of somebody who's be like, oh, I know exactly who that's going to be, or they stand out to me in some form or fashion.
And you know what's really interesting about it is, so like I just like Austin, I hopped over to IMDb. It's played by Kevin Novak, who plays Roger, and he is one of the leads in the FX show What We Do in the Shadows, which is that comedy vampire show, which is really, really good. So he has like a comedic talent to him, and the way you used that was like, you fall down. Yeah. Like that's all that was, and it could have been so much more. And you could have given him lines, or I don't know, you could have maybe hinted at the reason why he doesn't like Cruella for some reason, but you just kind of like left it and made us do the homework, which is fine, but seems a little half-hearted.
Because I
failed the homework, so
I'm thinking about it more now too, and I'm like, it also doesn't really set up why he hates Cruella, like when he's in the future, because she was fairly nice to him in the office, and then she gave him a puppy. But also, why did Cruella give him a puppy? They barely know each other.
Right.
True. Because they knew each other in passing. So wait a minute. Wait a minute. It's all kind of hitting me. This man was singing the Cruella DeVille song at the end, but he had no real reason for singing the Cruella DeVille song at the end.
No. She just gave him a puppy.
She gave you a nice puppy, and you were like, oh, man, fuck that puppy. And then it was like, Cruella DeVille, Cruella. Like, wait a minute. Slow down there, Roger. What's going on?
I mean, that's a very good way to put it. And the other thing is it's like, why did she just give away the puppies like that? I mean, was it like a save me from myself? I'm a fiend.
Wait,
and I
can you ship dogs like that? I also didn't see no holes in that box. There was no holes. The guy just came up and was like, here goes the dog. And you were like, wait a minute.
These puppies in this house, I'm going to make them into mittens. So better give them away. Otherwise, there's going to be a whole thing. Like, I just don't understand I mean, it's just such a random gift. And again, to
random.
somebody you don't really know
Yeah.
but at all. I am going to break up Jen's list with something from my list, which is, can we talk about the level of emotional abuse that Cruella enacts on Jasper and Horace throughout this entire thing?
Yes.
She is, for someone who is like, oh, I'm going to be such a good person, she is actively shitty to those two people. And that is just, I don't understand what the message is there. Like, if you stick around and you take it, maybe you'll make it to the top. Like, I don't understand what the point is of that particular lesson with those two. I mean, I get that they are, for the majority of this, the moral compass, but when does it turn? Does it just, it just makes a whole litany of confusing and makes my head spin at just how they just kind of sit there and they're like, this is our life now.
Well, there's also the weird love interest maybe between Cruella and Jasper. Like, she was like, oh, that's the thing I love about you. Like, she said it multiple times. And I was like, yeah, okay, clearly there's something there, but they're not really hinting at it. But like, okay, but they never built upon that. I mean, I like the idea of Jasper and Horace saying, I don't like the way she's been treating us, because that's realistic. Like, okay, cool. I like that. But also, I don't think she ever got better, really. Like, what put her in charge or anything? I didn't understand that part.
I mean, the only thing that made it redeemable, it felt like, was that, like, oh, great, you saved them from jail. Yep, that undoes all of the shitty things you've made them do over the course of the past 30 minutes. Like,
and then we'll continue to do in the future, because somehow those people who are, Jasper and Horace have expressed, disgust at Cruella, and then now, like you were saying earlier, now they're like kidnapping Dalmatians and all that shit for her. Like, where did that happen? Where's their origin story?
Jasper and Horace, the origin story.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, they kept forgiving her. And this is the other thing that I think that is kind of like Horace and Jasper adjacent, is this whole thing, like, with like the mental health component of this, which I just found kind of mind boggling, which is, it's like, oh, well, she's going through her stuff with her mom. That's not permission to be a dick. That's just not permission to be rude to other people. Like, your stuff is your stuff, and you're responsible for kind of sorting it out. And you can ask for help. And this is a whole other thing. But like, it's just, it feels weird that it's just such like we're gonna give her a free pass, like, just because she's dealing with her own set of stress. But that doesn't give you permission to be, like I said, doesn't give you permission to be a dick.
Yeah, especially when they first meet when they're kids too, and she's like crying about her mom because her mom had just died like 10 minutes ago at this point.
And she processed that.
Yeah.
Like, yep, moving on.
And the kid versions of Jasper and Horace were like, oh, like, we remember how it is. They've also had a tragic backstory. They're also living on the streets as children. But the second she's having, like, my mom, the Baroness is really my mom, and my mom died from Dalmatians and all this, they're like, I guess we just exist to serve you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's very weird. I did not care for that.
Yeah.
It is a disconnect. And I think that they could have done, of course, Disney, they're making this movie and they know kids are going to see it because it's based off of a children's movie. So, of course, they have to throw something in there real quick to say, hey, it's not nice to treat your friends like this. And she has a reason why she's treating her friends like this. But always remember, don't treat your friends like this. But also remember, she's going to skin these puppies. So, like, it's kind of like it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. And I don't know what Disney, this is too many lessons at once. I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah, it's a lot. And they kept using the word like psycho over and over and over again too, which I thought was a very interesting choice in word. Not like my mom's you could even, I mean, you introduced the word narcissist. It's a PG-13 movie. Most of us are going to pick up on this, but it went from like, oh, she's a narcissist to like, oh, she's a psycho. It's like, oh my God, can you just dial it back just a hair, please? So, but those are two things I think that are from my list. Austin and Marcus, anything from your list of things that just kind of irked you about this movie, top to bottom?
I have one very specific one.
Oh,
let him have it, Austin.
Yeah.
Right at the end, you mentioned the parachute skirt earlier. So she has this ploy to trick the Baroness into pushing her over the cliff or whatever. She parachutes down, and then somehow, in the time that it takes the police to come arrest the Baroness and bring her to the front of the building, Cruella has parachuted down into the water, come back up, gotten into her Cruella outfit because she was dressed as Estella before, did her hair,
Yep.
did her whole fancy in the time that it took to walk from the cliff to the front of the mansion.
Yep.
That like very specific.
Yep.
But I had issues.
And that boat was not a motorboat. That boat was a regular. He had a paddle. So like, there's no way in hell he paddled all those ferocious waters and was able to make it back to the car to do all that other stuff with her.
So I guess she was like changing in the boat. Like what?
Like, how does that even work? And the boat is like this big. So both of y'all that's impossible.
And not to mention, how is he supposed to know exactly where she's gonna fall? Because there's a thick layer of fog between where the ocean is and like halfway between where the cliff is. So he can't even be like, well, I hope this is right. Like that should have taken at least a few hours for them to sort out where he was supposed to be.
They also made that fall that she did really sexy. Like they made it like it was like a ballerina type fall off the thing where she did like this. And then that's when I knew the skirt was like this thing. And I was like, okay, I mean, like, that's cool and all, but
yeah, she did the Kingdom Hearts fall. Like she fell straight down and flipped around backwards and went down. That's what she did.
Is that not how that works in real life?
Did her mom fall like that? Did her mom do like a little sexy fall like right off the thing? Like it was that's a good point, Austin. That's a great point.
That is a very great point. Not to mention, and I'll add something to your point. Not to mention, Horace, the last we see him, he's in like the mansion, he's in the castle, whatever it is, which means he has to sneak off, drive down, push the boat into water, row out there, and all in that same amount of time. Like how long, this goes back to like pacing and timing that we've talked about before. Like how long are we really supposed to be sitting there and figuring this out? So that's bizarre.
One of the things I didn't like is okay, I get it. When you label somebody as a genius, you know that they can apparently do anything. In a movie, all you have to do is say, this person is a genius, and then they can get away with whatever follows that statement. So because she was a genius and she could sew, apparently she could put together anything, like these outfits, a freaking parachute. You mean to tell me she put together a parachute? I'm pretty sure there's some aerodynamics there that like she did not take into account. But because she was a genius and she had a sewing kit or the sewing machine, like she could do all of these things. Some of the stuff felt unrealistic. Some of the scenes felt a little bit dragged on. And I just feel like they could have cut a lot of things short, like her training montage as the lower level employee. They spent like 20 minutes on that storyline of her trying to get that guy's attention, who was, once again, they introduced this character, her boss, that I felt like that was a waste of time to introduce him like that. Like they really made it feel like they were going to have this full conversation. Never had it. She just got caught, and then she got called up by the Baroness, and like that was the whole thing. I don't know. It was just a lot.
It's just weird top to bottom. And again, I think is the lesson from this supposed to be like, don't follow directions and you'll get rewarded. Like I'm confused in a movie, and maybe it's just because it's Disney and they're like chock full. They're in the lesson business because they do like kids movies. Like, is this just like, how many lessons are you going to try and jam in here? And who's, again, back to Jen's point, who is this for? Because at some point in time, it just feels weird. Like, yeah, you should fall outside the status quo, but yeah, just really say fuck your boss and do what you want to do, and you'll get rewarded for that, believe it or not. Like, it just seems weird. Yeah. So, all right. Jen, anything else that you like? What other things do you have on your list? I'm very curious. And again, I live in Pettytown, so if you got petty, bring it on.
Well, sort of like what you were saying when you were kind of like, well, what's the lesson here? I was kind of struggling with what this movie was trying to say in terms of like nature versus nurture. Like they're like, Cruella is evil because her mother is evil, but also she's evil because her mother was killed by Dalmatians. So I'm like, which is it? They're like, she was born bad because the Baroness is her mother, and that's why she's a fashion genius, because apparently that's hereditary, and then B, like a bad evil person. But then they're also saying like she's evil because of the trauma that happened to her. So I'm like, I don't get it. Which one is it? They were trying to have it both ways.
Yeah. Jim has a great point.
Yeah, very great point.
Here's a point. They're having this final scene between the Baroness and Cruella. And she says, I should have known there was something about you that's so special. You're just like me. And I was like, I didn't know fashion or knowing fashion was something that could be passed down in the bloodline. I just didn't know that was a thing.
You didn't know that? That's
no,
I mean, that is how Gucci got started, top to bottom. He comes from a long line of designers.
Thank you, Doug. I had no idea.
I've done my design homework. So
Doug and Disney. Thank you, Doug and Disney. I learned something new today.
Well, and do you realize how quickly she walked away from her non-biological mom? How quickly she was like, well, the Baroness is my mom. I mean, I still love you, I guess, but I'm gonna go deal with this. Like, what? Like, you, for the majority of this has been a tale of vengeance, and you've been trying to get vengeance on this woman for killing your mom. Then you realized you did it, and it's just, you're right, Jen. This top to bottom is just kind of like, wait, what? What are you trying to do here? Yeah. I didn't care for that. Also, did not care for that at all. So, yeah. Yeah, there you go. There you have it. Yeah. Well, what else you got?
My other petty one is just that Cruella is born with naturally black and white hair.
I don't know.
What? This is what I was saying earlier too, where I'm like, is it for kids? Because it's so cartoony. Like, we have to suspend disbelief for that. But then also the rest of the movie, she's like, I don't know, supposed to be this badass or whatever. And you also pointed out in your intro too, where she was dyeing her hair, but then she was also wearing wigs.
There were so many wigs.
What? Why did you have the red hair as a wig?
Wigs, so many wigs. I was like, first of all, the wigs were bad. This is so just the wigs were so bad. I was like, that is a wig. Every time she got up on the screen, I was like, that's a wig. Like, that's a wig. And then she specifically dyed her hair with the paste. And I was like, okay, I get how she gets the red hair because that's what it's like in the trailer. And then she comes out of nowhere and it's perfectly split right down the middle, pure white, pure black.
Yep.
Which means she would have had to dye her hair back to its original black and white.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless she stripped out all that dye, which I'm
not sure if they were able to do that in 1968.
No, and it's never that successful even now. So, I don't know.
Called her a genius, so now she can dye her hair.
This is not my area of expertise.
Oh, well, yeah. That's true.
My hair situation is like, well, is it receding or advancing? Receding again? Nope, there you have it. But yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing is and even to make the red hair dye, it's gonna look weird, right? I mean, this is lighter. Yeah. It's gonna be more concentrated over here and maybe harder to see over here. It was just a lot for us to have to figure that out.
I mean, I'll forgive her for being a child and using hair dye for the first time.
We are holding an 8-year-old accountable for making adult decisions.
But then all she had to do was dye the white half of her hair black. Yeah, I don't know why she brought red into the equation.
Yeah. Bingo. She brought a whole, what's black and white and red all over? A newspaper. No, Cruella. It's a lot going on. I think the biggest thing in all of this is the inconsistency. There are certain scenes where okay, the scenes are great. The moments are great. It's very, Devil Wears Prada is my movie. I like that movie. I've watched it over 100 times, but it's very much so they try to not focus on the fashion too much. As soon as they start really diving into the fashion, they want to remind you oh, Cruella is being traumatic. And don't forget that this is Cruella, but fashion, but music. And it's oh, it's a lot going on here in 2.5 hours.
And a lot to keep track of in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say about the hair dye, and again, I'm holding an 8-year-old accountable for making adult decisions, but she wasn't going to take the white clothes off at all. I mean, she basically ruined that skirt.
And that's her only shirt.
It's not like she's got a shitload of shirts. She's an orphan. It's not like she's got a suitcase of stuff she's pulling from. She just dumped it on. And I was like, you can tell I'm a dad because I went, oh, that's going to go everywhere.
Yeah.
Just right away. That's going to get on everything. Yeah. Ladies, gentlemen, anything else that's worth mentioning about Cruella before we move to sort of our last little bit with kind of tackling this thing?
Could we talk about the CGI dogs a bit? You brought them up at the beginning.
Oh, please. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Lots of CGI doggy.
Lots of CGI dogs, and I don't know why you did it. Did you just not have access to Dalmatians? Are they extinct? Is there a crisis that I don't know about?
No, because the 101 Dalmatians from the 90s made everyone want Dalmatians, and then it fucked up the breeding of Dalmatians, and now they're all in shelters. That is a true story. They fucked up.
Oh my god!
So, yeah, when the 90s 101 Dalmatians came out, it like increased the popularity of Dalmatians. Everyone wanted Dalmatians.
Sure.
So breeders were breeding Dalmatians without the, I don't know, I'm not super far into this. I don't know super in depth, but breeders started breeding them for the looks more than for the other aspects of the breed. So they actually ended up kind of messing around with the genetics of Dalmatians. And then because they were a fad, because this movie came out, was super popular, they became a fad. They just ended up in shelters, basically, because that's what happens with that. So,
oh my God,
yeah,
that's terrible.
That is fucking sad.
So they could have found some Dalmatians somewhere, is what I'm getting from this. Like whether that's, and again, I'm trying to make sure we take away the point, which is like, yeah, I mean this has some impact, and you made a choice to CGI them because maybe they were being more aggressive. But again, that goes back to Jen's point of like, why, or I'm not sure if it was Jen or Austin, who made, like, why was that your attack dog?
Yeah.
Like,
and even with Buddy, her closer dog, there was this weird, the CGI was weird. Yeah. And it was like, it's not weird. It's very noticeable on CGI on a dog because the way that the fur moves and the way that animals move in a movie, you have to be like, I mean, that's kind of hard to pin down. The other thing was the relationship between Buddy and her. It was like almost like they were developing this relationship where Buddy knew what was going on, but then they never really gave it a full circle moment.
No, not at all.
Anything like that. It was just like Buddy knows that something's up with Cruella or whatever, but they never made it like an official thing. The only real dog I think it was the one-eyed dog. I never saw Wink? The CGI with CGI for Wink. He seemed like that was the only real dog.
Probably when he like jumped from like the second floor.
I was gonna say
that was CGI.
No, he was dressed like a rat. I think he was CGI.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a good point too.
Yeah,
that was a good point. But I liked Wink. The CGI dog thing for a movie that is eventually, this movie's not about dogs. This one is about fashion. But the future movies is about dogs, and you have CGI'd them all. Like, granted, this may have been shot in a pandemic. Maybe dogs in a pandemic is hard to find. I'll toss it up. But Disney, y'all got more than enough damn money to go find some real real Dalmatians, real Dalmatians and bring them on set.
Right. But again, even like you made that choice with Wink, right? Like you made the choice to say like, okay, when he's doing this one thing, he's CGI, the rest it's going to be real. Did you not want to have to try and train a Dalmatian to try and do the same thing? Were they not in it enough to make that juice worth the squeeze? It just seemed odd, like really odd to just have so much CGI dog in there. And I think again, what bugs me about the movie and the choices they made with the dogs is like, yeah, Marcus, this is about fashion, but the common thread through all of this is like, this isn't a new character. It's not like we're walking in and being like, oh, well, I've never heard of this woman before. Tell me more. Like we know what she's gonna do later. Like we've seen the future a little bit on this one. So why that, and why make the choices with the dogs if you didn't want us to think about it?
Well, I think here's what I really think. If we're looking at it from a business perspective, Disney labels all of these movies like Beauty and the Beast, these live action movies, as the classic reimaginings of classics.
Oh, sure.
And so it could be they're trying to tell a new story that is completely different from the original. So she's not a dog killer in this one, but she is like big bad Cruella. But I don't know, like, Disney has a lot on their plate. So it's kind of hard to forget about the originals and not take into account, like, this lady's going to eventually become a puppy killer. And, like, she's a monster, but she's marketable because she's a badass rebel. And monster, that's what...
She's got her own issues, guys. She's a monster, but her mom and the sun was in her eyes.
Here's why she's a monster.
Her
mom died, y'all. She can skin the puppies because her mom died. Like, no, you need a therapist or to be in a jail.
Her tears when she's thinking about her mom. Like that's what she needs them for. It's just bizarre. It's just very, very bizarre. But that's awesome. That is a great point. There's a lot of CGI dog in this that maybe we didn't necessarily need. Anything else to wrap up the bad before we move into our next segment of analyzing this particular movie, which is what we call the ugly, or really like if you were in the director's chair, or if you were if you were in the writer's room, or if you were at all involved in the production of this, what would you do differently? And kind of like TikTok, I'll go first, just to kind of set the stage. This is how I feel about it. Yes. Yes, Mario.
Go ahead.
That
joke was yeah. Go ahead. That was such a dad joke.
I'm very proud of myself for it. So
okay, all right. I'm proud of you too. Then.
I'm good.
All right.
So the way that the things that I would have done differently is I would have just I would have consolidated this down and make it a little easier, because I think like we've kind of all touched on at some point in time over the course of this podcast. It's like, it's 2.5 hours and there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of things to have to keep track of. And there's a lot of things that's like, wait, what? But then there's this. And I would have just committed to pick one thing. Like, it's the Dalmatian thing, or it's the competitiveness and dealing with trauma thing. Like, it's just pick one thing and stick with it and just make it a little bit more concise. And I think it would have been a little bit easier. I also would have really appreciated if maybe they made it so that Cruella had a little bit more leverage over some of these folks, because as I'm thinking about it, like, she walks into this next movie and the next time we see her as having a lot of control and having a lot of power that she gets to wield over people like Horace and Jasper and Anita and others. And there's never a moment where I'm like, oh yeah, well, that's how she's got them in her pocket. Like, I've never fully understood that, because the way they tell this version of it is they don't owe her a damn thing. Like, it's not like she gave them a place to stay. There's just none of it that she really did there that I was like, oh, okay. So that's what I would do a little bit differently, is maybe set up how she has a little bit more power with this going forward. And then on top of that, just pick a lane and kind of stick with it. But others on what you might do differently?
Anyone want to dive in?
I feel like for me, I would have added something. Now, if you give us 2 hours and 30 minutes, I feel like I would have snipped some moments down a little bit less, and I would have started the movie maybe looking at Cruella in the future. Like, hey, this is me. This is where I am. This is who people think. Like, okay, if I'm Disney and I want to stray away from the puppy killer thing, I'm like, hey, I'm Cruella. People think I'm this person, but what they don't know is the full backstory. So, like, then maybe we flash back, and then the entire movie is this flashback sequence leading up to who Cruella is now and how she's gotten to where she is. Where then maybe Disney can scrub that whole bad puppy skinning thing. Like, they can do something else and be like, I've never really done that. That's who they think I am, and I'm not that, but I'll play the villain if I have to. Like, okay, cool, I can take that, and maybe it makes you a little bit more of a relatable character, and maybe it also makes you just a plain psychopath, because you just, who claims being a puppy killer? Like, that's weird, but that's kind of where I would start.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Those are really good suggestions. I feel like I don't have anything.
No, that's totally fine.
Insightful. I think my thing was I started to lose interest a little bit as a viewer, kind of in the middle section. It was just a lot. I didn't really, as much as I liked the reveals of Cruella's like costume, I really liked like the dump truck thing, that kind of thing.
As much
as I liked those moments, I didn't really understand. Well, I mean, I understood. I didn't really care too much about it. You know, so it just felt kind of from when she got the job with the Baroness kind of to the heist, the big heist towards the end. It was just sort of the same thing after over and over and over again. So I probably would have trimmed up a little bit of that, but I really like that suggestion of kind of starting from the future and going back, because they kind of do it anyway. They just don't go far enough in the future.
Right.
So it would have.
I would have loved it. I almost thought when she first started reading, I thought she was telling the story, which I thought would have been really cool, Marcus, was as she's going over the cliff in her car. Let me tell you how I got here.
Like an old BET movie.
That would have been really neat to be like going over the cliff. You're in the car following. It's slow motion. It's like, well, how did I get here? And just kind of like
wondering how I got here.
Right. Yeah. That's such a different story. But yeah, I think and what was the point of that scene where they were in the Baroness's, like, I don't want to say sweatshop, but that's all I can think of. Like where they were sewing all the dresses and Horace again, like, let's mess with the guard. well, bye. Like that's
Yeah.
it. Like that's. I mean, I get that that's the. It didn't advance the plot, and it was just kind of there. I mean, you could have trimmed scenes like that and really made up for it with like leaving a card that says "I was here," signed Cruella, and she finds it later. Like you can accomplish the same thing, but not as long. So, but Jen, anything that you have that you might change differently? Don't have to have anything, but if you do.
Yeah, I honestly think I would cut the part where the Baroness is Corella's mother, because I did laugh out loud at that reveal. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. We're 2 hours into the movie at this point, and you're throwing a new plot point at me. Like, I just can't. I can't deal with it. And I feel like the Baroness was a good enough villain as is.
Oh, yeah.
She was kind of like, I don't know. She was kind of the villain that Cruella was in the first, like, 101 Dalmatians movies, where it's like, she's just evil. You don't need anything else.
No.
She's just evil and a little fabulous, and that's why you like her.
Right.
That's true.
And so I felt like I didn't need her to be, like, Cruella's real mother, and that makes her extra bad because she was going to kill a baby or whatever. Like, I was already, like, she was already the villain. She was already the antagonist. Cruella was already trying to, like, get her. I didn't need that additional bit.
No, not at all. It definitely
didn't change anything.
Yeah, my English teacher would have been pissed. That's called introducing a new idea in your conclusion. Like I didn't need that stuff at all. Like at all.
Yeah.
So, great. I mean, those are all fantastic ideas.
Those are fire, y'all.
Would have improved it. But the real question is, do you recommend this to friends, family, others? Is this something that they should go and see, especially in light of the $30 price tag or going to a theater, depending on where you live? So I'm going to start with Marcus. Marcus, do you recommend that people go and see this movie?
Because I saw it in a matinee, and because this was the first time our theater was open since the pandemic, I'm going to say yes. I want to say go see it in a theater. Now that $30, I didn't watch Mulan, so I don't know about that part. I'll let Jen and Austin take it from there. But I want to say, I felt like it was good. Our movie ticket pricing is not terrible at all. It was like $7. Went to go watch it. Went by myself. Enjoyed myself thoroughly just because it was a movie, and I was just happy to be there. So I would say go watch it. It's a new story. That was what I did like about it. I forgot to mention that. It's refreshing because it was something. It's an attempt at something new, and I like that.
For sure. Austin?
I would say maybe wait till it's on Disney Plus if you can't go if you can't go to a movie. I would say if you can go to a theater, like it's probably worth it. Like I don't know how many movies are being released right now, but it's like a decent time. It's not, I don't think it's a bad movie by any means, but it's just kind of had some weak points. Or just wait till it's just streaming on Disney Plus without the $30 price tag.
Jen?
Yeah, same. I think it's perfectly fine. It's enjoyable. I've had the kind of same reaction to a lot of these live action Disney ones where they're not great, but they're not like offensive. They're just kind of a good way to spend a couple hours. I don't know if I would pay for this. I wouldn't recommend maybe paying for it, like doing the $30 Disney Plus thing. I wouldn't tell you to go do that if you haven't already. Like maybe you've already done that to watch it for this podcast, say, for example, then you've already paid. But if you haven't seen it yet, I would say wait till it's free.
Yeah. For sure. Completely agree with you. Both, everybody, just all of it. It's just, I saw it in a theater, so there was a little bit of that, like, oh, cool, I'm in a theater again. There's a small part of me that wishes that this wasn't the first movie I saw in a theater. Kind of wish I would have seen A Quiet Place 2 first or something like that instead. But to Marcus's point, there hasn't been a lot of new stuff released, so it was nice to have something brand new in a theater that we could go and see. Definitely agree with the two of you. Like, don't pay the $30 for it. Wait till it comes out on Disney Plus if you're not going to see it in a theater, just because that's such a high price tag for something that you can genuinely
really is.
Like, there is nothing. This isn't like you got to go see it now because everybody's talking about it. Like, it's not bad. It's certainly entertaining. It's a new version of something that we're used to, so that's worth it. But yeah, I would just wait and just hold off. So, but to sum up, Cruella is in theaters where they are open, and then it is also available on Disney Plus with that premium paywall in front of it. But we are reaching to the point where we are at the plug section of our particular podcast. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Jen and Austin to talk a little bit to our listeners about I Hate Your Taste in Movies. So take it away, Jen and Austin.
Sure.
Austin.
Sure.
She normally does the plugging part on our podcast.
Sure.
That's why she's got all the handles. She knows everything.
Trained professional, huh?
Yeah, totally. No pressure. I Hate Your Taste in Movies. We release new episodes every Tuesday. It's Jen and myself and our friend Jackie. We have very, very different tastes in movies. Jen is a big horror fan. Jackie loves action movies, and I'm kind of something in between. A lot of musicals, a lot of just other stuff that happens to fall into that. And we force each other to watch some of our favorites and put our friendship to the test, basically, every week. But yeah, we're on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste and on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod.
That's really cool.
Follow.
Has the friendship ever like been threatened at all with a particular movie? And if so, what movie?
Jen?
What? We have at the end of the episode, we do a friendometer to see if we're still in the green or if it's in the red where it's like danger zone. And I think we've been pretty green lately.
Okay.
Okay, that's good.
I'll tell you about this podcast. We fight on the regular. And me and Doug Wagner are currently beefing because his opinion about Zack Snyder has been pissing me off.
Look, we're fine. We're gonna make it. It's good. This is conflict makes this all better. It's good. It's
well,
good
I recommend the friendometer. Good to check in. Just kind of good.
You might have to borrow that.
That's absolutely fire. So you all are available where anybody can listen, correct? Just basically everywhere. Great.
Wherever you listen to your podcast.
Awesome.
Love it.
Marcus, what do you have to plug, sir?
Y'all know the deal. You got to follow the mantra, and the mantra is never offended, always humble. Follow at _ the mantra on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter. All my socials are at Marcus J. Destin, so you can go ahead and follow that. Interact with me, talk with me. I'm probably going to tweet about my experience with 101 Dalmatians a little bit later, but you never know what's going to happen. New merch is on the way. We're trying out some new logos. We just ordered some prototypes, so we got some new merch on the way with new logos. We got a lot of dope stuff. New music is on the way. Soul Ties dropping. I'm going to be dropping here very soon. And this Patreon. Sign up for our Patreon. We do one free live once a month, and this was our free live this month. So y'all really got a really good show from us. So sign up for the Patreon. You get a lot more cool stuff. We're going to start working on some merch and a lot of other dope ass things, and you don't want to miss out. Brian Roush, we love you. We miss you. Enjoy your vacation.
Absolutely. I am going to plug on behalf of Brian Roush, thelovenerds.com. So Brian, for our listeners, Brian's wife Maggie runs a craft and food and just general like fun blog top to bottom. I know she's got some things that if you have a cricket or other things that are like a cricket, gun to my head, couldn't tell you the name of the other product that's opposite a cricket. But she's got really fun recipes. She's got really fun designs there. And that is at thelovenerds.com. So check out their stuff over there. It is super, super cool. And Roush. The other thing that I have to plug is, like Marcus said, this Patreon and our podcast overall. We drop on Fridays. And so we got some great stuff coming up. We're getting into blockbuster season, so there's some fun things to talk about. And like Marcus said, the live stream component is really, really fun to do. And we hope everybody's enjoying all the things we got going there. And like we usually do, we don't give our guests first off, I really want to just give a big round of applause to Austin and Jen from I Hate Your Taste in Movies. This was so much fun to have you guys on. This was really cool talking about this movie with you. Hopefully we're able to do it again soon. But thank you all for joining us on this episode. And like they said, check out I Hate Your Taste in Movies. It's definitely a cool listen. So we, though, do here at Films in Black and White, Films in Black and White, have a 3-step process to success. And I'm going to start with the first step. The first step is read a book. Any book, doesn't matter. Just read one. Pick up a book. It could be a comic book. It could be like a manual. It could be a cookbook. It really doesn't matter. Just read a book. It's important that you do that. It's good for your brain. It's good for where you are at. Just good for you in general. Marcus, do you want to let everybody know what our second step to success is?
Our second step to success is very important, almost as important as reading a book. It's drink water. Gotta drink some water. It's getting hot outside. You know what I mean? They done open the world up, whether we liked it or not. And you just have to drink water. You know what I mean? It could be the cure to whatever, but like drink water, because when you sweat, you are what you sweat. So if you've been eating nothing but nasty foods with no water, you stink. Oh man, you stink.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to drink some water, okay? It's very important.
Very important. The other step to this is it's really important as the world opens up.
Yeah.
You're gonna be
Tell 'em,
out
Doug.
around people, and you've
Take your
maybe been
time.
spending time in your house, and you've maybe gotten used to, for lack of a better word, your own aroma. So it's just really important. Just wash your ass.
Yeah.
Just I don't care how you do it. I don't care with what. I mean, some soap, a washcloth, whatever it is, just get up in it and make sure that you wash it, because at the end of the day, look, nobody wants to have to endure whatever it is you're bringing with you from your house.
All your troubles
back
and
out into the world.
your trials and tribulations. Every time you sit down, everybody smells your trials and tribulations.
And nobody wants to do that.
Nobody
So
wants that.
It's really important that you just read a book, drink some water, and step 3, wash your ass. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Films in Black and White. We will be back next week with another great episode and the triumphant return of Brian Roush. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all, and we will catch y'all next week.
This is great, y'all.
You had to get that in there.